At our busy retail store, my shift leader snickered loudly. "She's like our little store mascot, cute but absolutely useless during rush hour." I swallowed my anger as customers giggled. When I finally had enough, I sent corporate a full report of his Timecard fraud. Watching security walk him out in front of the Saturday crowd was something I'll never forget. I started working at this big box store in Roanoke, Virginia about 10 months ago. I won't say which chain, but it's one of those stores with the red logo, self-checkout lanes that always freeze, and managers who act like they run the country. I took the job after leaving a toxic relationship. I needed something, anything, to get my own money again. I wasn't looking for a career, just a way to stay afloat and regain control of my life. I was living in a small apartment near Orange Avenue and didn't have many friends left in town. This job felt like a reset button. The first couple of weeks were okay. Nothing great, but manageable. You fold clothes, deal with cranky coupon people, stock shelves, help old ladies find toilet paper. Most of the employees were just trying to survive their shifts without getting yelled at. Then I met Kevin. Kevin was the shift leader. Not the store manager, but close enough that he acted like one. Early 30s. Wore tight polos and still talked about his glory days playing high school football. He had the kind of fake smile that never touched his eyes, and when he wasn't sucking up to corporate during visits, he was making everyone else feel 2 inches tall. He didn't like me from day one. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I was quiet. Maybe he thought I was weak. Whatever it was, he picked me as his pet target. It started small. Snide comments under his breath. Telling me to pick up the pace when I was literally the only one unloading a pallet. Then he'd smirk to other workers like he was performing for a crowd. The worst part was how he did it in front of customers. One Saturday morning, the store was slammed. I was working the front folding a table of jeans, helping people find sizes. Kevin stood behind me, loud as hell, and said to another coworker, "She's like our little store mascot, cute, but absolutely useless during rush hour." People laughed. Customers laughed. A guy checking out turned and said, "Ah, she's trying her best." It hit me right in the chest. I felt my face burn, but I didn't say a word. I just kept folding. That was the moment I knew I couldn't let it slide forever. From that point on, he called me Mascot to my face. Not once, not twice, daily. "Hey Mascot, get carts." "Mascot, you missed a spot." "Mascot, maybe leave the hard stuff to someone who can handle it." He never said anything you could report directly. It was always wrapped in jokes or said with a smile. People noticed, but no one stood up. They didn't want to be next. One Tuesday morning, I got scheduled to open. I arrived at 6:45 a.m. The only ones there were me, the opening manager, and the morning stock team. Kevin was supposed to be there at 8. He didn't walk in until almost 10:30. Later that day, I had to do a quick restock and went into the back office. Kevin had been using the computer but got called to the floor and forgot to lock it. The screen was on his time card. It said he clocked in at 7:55 a.m. I froze. I backed out and checked previous days. Same thing. Over and over again, Kevin had clocked in early, even on days I knew he came in late or left early. It wasn't 1 or 2 times. It was a pattern. Some days, he was logging 10 hours when he was barely there for 6. Hundreds of dollars a week, just slipping through unnoticed. I snapped photos with my phone. Every time card. Every date. Every shift. I double-checked with the schedule. Then I started keeping my own notes every day he showed up late or left early. I cross-referenced it with the camera locations. I knew where the blind spots were. I made a list of where he would be seen and when. I waited. And waited. He kept pushing me. The jokes got meaner. One time I was restocking a display and he leaned in and said, "Don't try too hard, Mascot. You'll break something." Or someone. Another time, during a meeting, he looked around and said, "We need stronger people on weekends. Not cute decorations." Every word dug into me, but I didn't react. I just kept building the file. Then, one Friday night, after another long shift where he'd vanished for 2 hours and came back holding a smoothie, I went home and sent the email. It was direct. I attached every photo. Every entry. Every discrepancy. I included a timeline. I wrote, "You can verify this by checking camera footage. I'm not looking for attention. I just want someone to see what's happening." I sent it to the corporate HR inbox. I didn't tell anyone. For 3 days, nothing happened. I figured it got buried or ignored. Then Wednesday morning, I got a phone call from someone in corporate HR. She said her name was Lisa. She asked me to walk her through the timeline, calmly, and thanked me for being so thorough. She said they were launching a full investigation but asked me not to talk about it to anyone in the store. So I didn't. But I watched. On Saturday, Kevin came in early, on time for once. Probably trying to impress a regional manager who was supposed to do a walkthrough that day. He was being loud, extra bossy, and way more friendly than usual. Walking around like he owned the place, laughing too hard, talking to customers like they were lifelong friends. At 11:38 a.m., 2 men in suits came through the front doors. Clean cut, badges on their lanyards. They walked straight to the manager's office. A few minutes later, they called Kevin over the intercom. Everyone heard it. "Kevin, please report to the office immediately." You could see it in his walk. He knew. He disappeared for about 20 minutes. Then he came out, with the 2 suits behind him. He wasn't wearing his name tag anymore. He didn't have his store keys. They followed him to the employee entrance, quiet and serious. A couple of cashiers stared. A few customers looked around, confused. Someone whispered, "What's going on?" Another coworker said, "Think he just got fired." They made him hand in his badge, sign some papers, and leave the store, escorted. Like a kid caught stealing from the school vending machine. Kevin didn't say a word. Not to me, not to anyone. He looked pale. Like someone had knocked the wind out of him. He was gone. After Kevin got walked out, things felt weird in the store. At first, it was quiet. Nobody talked about it out loud, but everyone knew. You could feel it in the air. Coworkers whispered in corners. Customers who had seen it asked questions, and we all gave the same answer, not sure what happened. But they knew. I kept my head down like always, but now people looked at me differently. One cashier I barely knew said, "You okay?" Another nodded at me in the break room and mumbled, "Took long enough." The truth was, most of them hated Kevin too. But they had stayed silent for months. Some out of fear, some because they thought nothing would change. And now that he was gone, I could see the guilt sitting on their faces. But not everyone was happy. That's when I noticed the shift in Kayla. Kayla was another team lead. Younger than Kevin, maybe 25, but had been there longer. She was the one always sneaking her vape in the break room and gossiping with the cashiers. Kevin had been her little sidekick, and together they ruled that store like it was their private playground. She didn't talk to me for the first week after he got fired. Just gave me tight smiles and turned away when I walked in. I figured she'd let it go eventually. I was wrong. One Monday, I walked into the back room to grab a ladder. When I came out, one of the managers stopped me near the registers. "Hey," he said, lowering his voice. "Did you put a cart full of clearance items in the fire exit?" I blinked. "No?" He frowned. "Kayla said she saw you do it. She wrote you up." I felt my chest get tight. "I didn't. I haven't been near the fire exit today." He hesitated. "I'll look into it." That's when I knew. Kayla was trying to get even. After that, small things started happening. I'd come in and find my name scratched off the schedule. Or I'd be assigned to unload trucks by myself for 5 hours. I once found my lunch thrown in the trash, and only mine. I went to the assistant manager. She said, "I'll talk to her." Nothing changed. I started documenting everything again. Every petty write-up, every weird shift change, every time Kayla assigned me something outside of policy. I saved the texts, took photos of the schedules, and logged the timestamps when I clocked in and found my name missing. It got worse. One night, I walked out to my car and found the word trader scratched across my back bumper. That's when I snapped. I went straight to the store manager's office the next morning and told him everything. I didn't hold back this time. I laid out the write-ups, the schedule edits, the lunch incident, and the vandalism. I told him I wasn't asking anymore, I wanted it investigated. He tried to calm me down, but I wasn't calm. I was done being polite. He said he'd escalate it to regional. 3 days later, I got called into the office again. But this time, Kayla was already sitting there. She looked smug, until they brought in the security guy. Then she went quiet. They showed her the camera footage of the fire exit incident. The write-ups with no basis. Even footage of her near the lockers the day my lunch disappeared. The kicker? They had her on camera, 10:02 p.m., standing behind my car in the lot with her phone flashlight on. Kayla was suspended pending investigation. But something still felt off. Because just as they were walking her out, she turned to me and said, loud enough for the whole front end to hear, "You think you're safe? You have no idea what you started." And she smiled. For a few days after Kayla got suspended, the store felt almost normal. No whispered insults. No weird schedule changes. I could breathe again. Even the other coworkers seemed lighter, like a storm had passed. A few even started talking to me more. Small talk during breaks, asking if I wanted to grab food after shifts. For the first time since I started, I felt like maybe I had a place there. But that calm didn't last. About a week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, my stomach turned. It was Kevin. "Hope you're enjoying your little victory," he said. "Heard about Kayla. You're on a roll, huh? Careful, Mascot. You're making enemies. And not everyone fights fair." Then he laughed. A long, ugly laugh. I stared at the wall for a while after that. I hadn't heard his voice since the day they walked him out. I hadn't even said his name aloud. And now he was calling me? I reported the message to the store manager. He shrugged and said, "Well, he's not employed here anymore. Can't really stop him from calling you." That's when I started wondering if someone inside had given him my number. I changed my voicemail greeting, blocked the number, and kept my head down. Until things got weird again. First, someone started sending in anonymous complaints about me. HR pulled me aside and asked if I was taking long breaks. Then it was missing merchandise, nothing major, just little things like batteries, snacks, clearance toys. Always during my shift. Always when I was working alone. Security reviewed the cameras and cleared me each time, but the frequency was rising. Someone was trying to make it look like I was stealing. Then one night, my car alarm went off at 2 a.m. I looked outside and saw nothing. No broken windows. No one in sight. But my back bumper, the same spot that said Trader before, had new scratches. This time it said rat. I called the police. They filed a report, but they couldn't prove anything. The next morning, I checked with my neighbor, who has a doorbell cam. Sure enough, the footage showed someone in a hoodie circling my car. You couldn't see the face, but the way the person walked, the body type, it looked a lot like Kayla. When I brought the footage to work, HR told me she'd been terminated. Officially. But no one knew where she'd gone. Just vanished. Later that week, I got called into the office again. This time, it wasn't about complaints or timecards. The regional manager, a guy named Phil, wanted to meet me. He sat me down, thanked me for exposing misconduct, and then said something I didn't expect. "There's an internal audit happening because of your report. Not just about Kevin. About this whole district." Turns out Kevin wasn't the only one playing games. Several team leads in nearby stores had similar inflated timecard patterns. Some were friends with Kevin. Some had even worked with him before transferring to other locations. The fraud went deeper than anyone thought. And it all started unraveling because of my email. Phil asked me to keep quiet while they looked into everything. I agreed. But when I left that meeting, I realized something. I had stumbled into something bigger than revenge. I had kicked over a rotten log, and the bugs were still crawling out. And one of them, maybe more, wanted to make me pay for it. That night, I got a DM from a fake Instagram account. "Keep digging and you'll end up alone." Just like before. I hadn't told anyone about my past. Not at this job. Not about the breakup. Not about how isolated I'd been. But someone knew. Someone close. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch with the lights on, holding my phone, staring at that message. Just like before. The words spun in my head. That breakup, the one that nearly broke me, it wasn't something I ever talked about at work. I hadn't even told HR about it. So how did someone know? Unless Kevin or Kayla had looked me up. Dug around. Found people from my past. That's when I knew this wasn't about a job anymore. This was personal. The next morning, I went to work and acted normal. Smiled, folded jeans, helped an old man find slippers. But inside, I was on edge. I checked over my shoulder constantly. My hand shook when I typed in my code to clock in. Then something happened that snapped it all into place. While cleaning up a shelf, I found a small folded note taped under one of the bottom racks. No one would have noticed it unless they were on their knees facing the wall, like I was while straightening things. I pulled it out. It said, "You ruined more lives than you saved. This won't stop. Resign." No name. Just printed letters, like from a label maker. I didn't report this one. Not right away. I needed to figure it out myself. Because now it was clear, this wasn't just Kevin or Kayla. Someone still working here was involved. That night, I reviewed every person who had ever defended Kevin. Or acted cold toward me. I started matching schedules to the days weird things happened. I checked who had access to the backroom. Who had my phone number. One name kept coming up, Marcus. Marcus worked overnight stock. Quiet guy, always wore a hoodie with the hood up, barely said a word. But he was close to Kayla. They'd shared rides sometimes. He was also there the morning I found my name scratched off the schedule. And the night my car was hit? He had clocked out just 15 minutes before it happened. I knew what I had to do. I waited for a Thursday night. That was his usual shift. I stayed late under the excuse of helping clean the front aisles. Around 10:30 p.m., I slipped into the break room and checked the locker row. Sure enough, Marcus's locker was unlocked. Inside, I found a phone. Not his main one. A cheap, prepaid one. And inside his jacket pocket? A label maker. I took photos of everything. Every screen. Every item. Then I called HR's emergency line and told them they needed to come now. By midnight, security had pulled Marcus into the office. At first, he played dumb. Said nothing. Then they showed him the footage. Yes, this time I had set it up. I tipped off the assistant manager to turn the stockroom camera toward the lockers the night before. They had him. Dead to rights. Turns out, Marcus had been feeding Kevin and Kayla updates since the day Kevin got fired. He'd even helped Kayla access the back parking lot camera feed by using a security login Kevin once shared with him. Worse? He admitted Kayla had been crashing at his place for weeks. When I heard that, I lost it. I want a restraining order, I said. Both of them. Today. Corporate took it seriously now. They offered me a transfer, even counseling. I told them I'd take the transfer, but not until I saw this through. So they let me sit in on the final review. Kayla had violated her termination agreement. Kevin had violated a no-contact clause from the corporate investigation. Marcus was fired on the spot. And both Kayla and Kevin were charged with harassment, trespassing, tampering with property. They'd even tried to file a fake theft report using my name. There were emails. Their little revenge plan? It ended with actual charges. But I didn't walk away clean either. I'd gotten what I wanted, but it changed me. People still avoided me in the break room. Not because they hated me, but because they were scared of me. The quiet girl who brought down 3 employees and exposed a payroll scam across 2 districts. The one who smiled at the register but had notes and screenshots hidden in her locker. I transferred to a new store across town 3 weeks later. No one there knew me. I started fresh. But every time someone joked too loudly or gave me a fake smile, I remembered. They thought I was a mascot. But I was watching. Listening. Keeping records. And when the time came, I made sure they never forgot who I really was. The girl who folded shirts quietly, until they gave her a reason not to. The one who got the last word. Every damn time.